I knew I wanted to make Aliyah, and I knew I wanted to go into the army. But like, I knew I wanted to go into the army. There was no doubt about it. I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. My leg hurt so badly when I got to the end of that march. And I was called in to bring all my gear because it was an emergency situation. They were like, David, move your butt. We need you there now. Here we go. Run, do that. I'm not running. I'm taking two jumps on my left leg, one hop on my right, two jumps on my left, barely touching my right down on the ground. The doctor stands up in front of me and he goes, stop. I'm like, what? I gotta go. I have like 3 minutes in the helicopters here. Let's go. And he's like, put those down. I'm like, what do you want? What do you want from me? He's like, David, you're going home. Taking off the cast hurts, but like, hurts. It burns. It burns so bad. I go and see this doctor. He has me lie down on a couch, on a bed, and he says, close your eyes. Close my eyes. And all of a sudden, it feels like someone is taking a blowtorch and is burning the side of my foot. Like, I live my life right there. All the time. And he looks at me and goes, oh, by the way, you know how like when I touched you, it made it even worse? I said, yeah. He goes, that's called allodynia. That's a byproduct of the nerve disorder that you have. And then he looks at me and says, oh, one last thing. Can it get any worse? He goes, yeah, it can. I go back to my room in the kibbutz. And I'm not really sure what to do with myself. I was facing a whole new reality. And I want you to imagine for a moment what it was like. I was alone in my room. My parents were not there to help me. My Hebrew was pretty good, but it was military Hebrew for the most part. It was not, understand bureaucracy, deal with legalese, Hebrew. When I came to campus in 2002, the world, and I do mean the world at large, was not handicapped accessible at all. And the campus was not handicapped accessible at all. So I decided I'm going to change this. I'm going to make this world, my world, handicapped accessible. And I learned something very interesting at this point, and I'm going to jump back into the academics for a minute, about the difference between being a manager or someone who has a position and being a true leader. But I learned something else as the advisor to the student union and to the university. I learned that there is a huge spectrum of disability. And it's intense because you see people who are living their lives and they sacrifice every single day because they just serve their country. They sacrifice every day. I finished my BA and I start my PhD. And the CRPS, well, it starts to spread. During that time, I had 5 different surgeries. And then in around 2009, I start to feel like pins and needles in my left leg. My wife jumps up. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Oh, it's really hurting. It's really hurting. She slowly takes my blanket off, and we take a look at my left leg. One of the people who works in the Dean of Students office turns to me and he says, David, guess what? We're starting international BA programs in English. You're an English speaker. We want you to be part of these programs. In fact, we'd like you to be the academic advisor to the programs. And I realized something else that I needed to learn about leadership. Leaders need followers. And I had to find people who I could trust to be able to say to someone, you're now in charge of this. But there's something else that I learned during this time. And that is we all have ideas that are really important to us. And sometimes the followers, they're going to go all in. They believed in something so deeply. They trusted that what they were doing was so important that they were willing to give their lives for it. Their ideas were picked up by followers. People who are willing to follow them even though they're not here. That's how important those ideas were. Well, that's the nature of ideas. We all have ideas that drive us. Things that push us forward. We have ideational hierarchies inside of us. They're what motivate you and what you can use to get other people to follow. 20 years go by from the time I got hurt. It's about last year. August of last year, I get a phone call. It's the officer who is in charge of the disabled soldiers. I meet with her, and she hears my accent, because even though I've been living here for 20 years, I have an accent. She goes, okay, tell me your story. telling my story, and she's like, what, they haven't been in touch? Like, you're 7? I was like, no, they probably don't even know I got hurt. And then Noah calls me again. December is the month where we recognize disabled and wounded IDF veterans. I want you to come and give a talk about your story to the commandos. So she invites me to come and give my talk. But that's not the end of the story. It's really just the beginning of a new story. Over the last year, I've given this talk in different variations with different main themes. I've spoken to officers. I've spoken to the commando unit several times. And I've found in my talks a motivation for something else where I can be an agent for change. Here's my challenge to you guys. I challenge you guys to be agents. What's your vision of the world? What is it that's going to be your part in that future? What team are you going to build? What are you willing to fight for? But more importantly, what are you willing to live for? I was prepared to die. I didn't know how much I had to be prepared to live. Be shlichim, be agents of change. And no matter what, aim high. Because if you aim low, it's not worth it. Questions?